Hello there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a TV series review of the TV series Star Trek Voyager. This is one of the better Star Trek series. Um, it's better in the sense that it's not the new stuff. It's my least favorite of the original Star Trek series, but it's still pretty damn good. It's like saying your least favorite chocolate, you know. Um, the series ran from 1995 to 2001. It is action, adventure, sci-fi, pretty much like any Star Trek series. This Star Trek series was a radical departure from previous series in that the ship was stranded on the far side of the galaxy and it faced a 75-year voyage back to, back home. And so it wasn't, they didn't have access to Starfleet wasn't there to cover their butts. They couldn't call in ships to help or whatever. Furthermore, half the crew was killed, and the captain was forced to accept a group called the Maquis. It's a group of rebels. They're fighting against another race called the Cardassians. But because they're labeled, depending on who you talk to, they're freedom fighters or terrorists. But a lot of them had Starfleet training, and a lot of them were human. That being said, uh, she had to use these as a supplement for her crew because she didn't have people to crew the ship. And these people needed a way home, so it worked out well for both of them. So this Maquis crew was integrated into her Starfleet crew. And her first officer was the Maquis commander, named, what's his name? Commander Chakotay. And so it created some interesting tension on board ship. And eventually, of course, they worked together, but there were some harrowing problems there at the beginning. Um, the fact that they didn't have they couldn't call Starfleet for help at the drop of a hat anytime something happened, they had to deal with it themselves. It created a different feel, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing. It's more or less it was more or less they were forced to be the rugged individualists that the the Star Trek started out with back in the original series, and it was a nice departure. But there were members of the crew. I love the captain. The captain was a good choice for the character. It was first off, it was the female captain, and she didn't come up through security or the helm or the engineering or anything like that. She came up through sciences, which is a rarity. Most captains come up through the helm or weapons or engineering or something along those lines. In the original series, Captain Kirk started out in security, but he transferred over to command because he wanted to command a starship, and it's hard for a security officer to become captain of the ship. So, anyway, the cast of this had a pretty good cast. I just wasn't happy with some of the writing and some of the characters. Um, Kate Mulgrew played Captain Catherine Janeway. Robert Beltran played Commander Chakotay, the leader of the Maquis group. Roxanne Dawson played Lieutenant B'Elanna Torres, the engineer. She was also a member of the Maquis. And she was, as I understand, if I recall, half Klingon, something like that. Robert Duncan McNeil played Lieutenant Tom Paris. To get him to go along, they got him out of a prison before they went on this ill-fated mission. Ethan Phillips plays Neelix, who was from the far side of the galaxy. He's kind of like their guide. He was also a little bit of comic relief, but he was a good member of the crew. Um, their doctor got killed. He was part of the crew, part of the half of the crew that got killed. So they were relying on what's called the Emergency Medical Hologram, the EMH, Emergency Medical Hologram. This guy was a holographic doctor, played by actor Robert Picardo, and he did a brilliant job. Tim Russ played the Vulcan security chief, Lieutenant Tuvok. Garrett Wang played Ensign Harry Kim, and he kind of had a variety of different jobs. bridge command specialist is the only thing I can think of. But I wasn't happy with his character. I never liked that character. He didn't really have a function. He just kind of flitted around doing different things. He ended up being an integral part of the crew, but it was difficult to pin him down. You know, everybody else had a job. Him not so much. Originally, they had an actress named Jennifer Lean playing a character named Cass, and she was Neelix's girlfriend. But they kind of wrote themselves into a corner there because the character only had, I want to say, a 7-year lifespan. And so after 4 or 5 years, they were like, well, what are we going to do? Because she's going to be getting old pretty quick, you know. So she left the ship. They wrote her out. They had a nice scenario where her character had to leave. Excuse me. But then another character joined, and she was a Borg. And if you don't know what a Borg is, they're kind of alien cyborgs. They're trying to take over the galaxy. And, you know, resistance is futile. You've heard that term. Well, those are the Borg. And the character they got to play, this character, the actress they got to play the character 7 of 9 was Jerry Ryan, who was, they had her in this, it's going to sound weird. I like the character. I just don't like the way they did it. Her character was always in skin-tight suits for some stupid, god-awful reason. And don't get me wrong, I'm a dude. I like the female form as well as the next guy, but they overdid it with her. Oh my God, they overdid it with her. Like I said, this show is probably my least favorite of the original Star Trek series, but it is still outstanding. And if you get a chance to watch it, it is time well spent. They have some really good writing in there, really good plots. The action is good, thought-provoking storylines, just like all the Star Trek series. Okay, the only problem I had with this was I didn't like some of the characters, but that's just, it may just be me. I'm an old fart, and I'm picky, I guess. But anyway, if you get a chance to see this, the TV series is Star Trek Voyager, and anything Star Trek before 2008, you cannot go wrong. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.